Dear Bruno friend, this is a speech by Bruno Gröning in Pirmasens in 1957. Prior to this talk, the friends listened to 4 different songs or hymns. And those were, "Oh, have you heard of that beautiful stream?" In the end, it is not difficult at all. I look, bowing and amazed, and beneath the cross of Jesus. And here is the speech. Dear friends, if you have followed carefully what you just heard, you will know exactly what this is about. Simply put, it's about you. It's about every single person. This is about true faith. This is about faith in God. And this only begins when the person comes to self-reflection, so that he knows what he needs for himself and what he needs for his body. I know that most people, yes, I would have to say almost all people today, no longer know what is right for them. But if we, dear friends, follow these teachings, that is the teachings of Christ, exactly, then we will be able to claim success for ourselves. Of course, people have, in the course of the centuries, fallen into a completely different, a purely human earthly doctrine. Today, people don't know anything about themselves. Man put the natural, the divine, aside. He gave up on himself. He no longer found it necessary to pay attention to his body. He just did what he thought was right, as he understood it. Dear friends, I would like to introduce myself briefly to you through the microphone so that you do not fall into another belief. I'll tell you very clearly, I don't know much. I know nothing more than what people today no longer know, no longer can know. As I just said, that they succumb to the human. They take everything so humanly and no longer divine. That is why, dear friends, it is sad, sad for every single person. He no longer finds the way that as Christ showed him. He no longer knows what is true. He, the human, has become more and more superficial. In practical terms, he is subject to a great sin without his knowing, without even noticing it, without even bothering his conscience about it. He more or less no longer feels it at all. What he does feel is that unorder has penetrated, not just around him, but inside him as well. And everybody, including you, dear friends, will ask yourself the question, how is all of this possible? How did it come about that the evil has seized your body, in which you really no longer feel comfortable, because you come to realize that your body no longer obeys you? You cannot give it orders, because it has gone on strike. Here and there is a tweak, and here and there are organs that no longer work together. That means that you first of all have to create order. The body is an entire work from which we, meaning every human being, should draw the lesson that God gives us His work, has added His work in our body, from which we can recognize how great and mighty God is. But I know that many, including you, dear friends, have not noticed the slightest thing. You have a completely different view of life. You live like your ancestors did, and who then gave you a lesson on your way. People more or less comply with earthly law, and they do everything to follow it. But I don't want to go too far here, because then you wouldn't understand me. Now I limit myself to one thing, and that is that man finally comes to self-reflection and knows that he is a divine creature, a divine being, and that it is God himself who gave him his body for a life on earth. That means that God has sent us here, and that God wants to show us all his splendor and glory. But now we are earthbound through our body, and the first duty, the first task of every individual is that he pays attention to this body, and that he also gives his body what God has determined. I give you certain parables now, my dear friends, then you will understand me even better. I realize that I have to do this in order to give you a real understanding of it, so that you first understand yourself, first come to your own knowledge. But this will only be possible if you pay attention to your body. And when you, that is, your body, has been gripped by the evil, then you say that it is not okay. You use the word it is sick, or here and there is the disease. You even claim that it is your illness. Yes, friends, seen from your side it may be right, but seen from the real, true, divine side, it is fundamentally wrong. Because the evil is around us, and man can very easily absorb it if he only once forgets and begins to listen to people, whether they have gained experience or not. Because here in life it is like this. Most people only tell you their opinion, not conviction. And if you go further, you will also have noticed that people keep saying, yes, I've tried everything possible. People have tried to free their next from the evil. You too, dear friends, will have tried everything possible to get rid of this evil. And if you now ask yourself the question, what did that get you? Shouldn't you reach for whom you belong, so that order reigns in your body? Shouldn't you be doing the right thing right now? Or should you perform experiments first? Should you only live according to the opinions of others? Should you just be tempted over and over again? Because you and every person are the evil when you are dealing with the evil instead of freeing yourself from it. By treating the evil. By only trying to get rid of this evil, but never taking in the thought that you have every duty and obligation to free yourself from this evil. Man never went into that because he stayed on the path of temptation. The fact is that these many temptations have become evil for you. The evil did not disappear from your body, but grasped it more and more and thus degraded it completely, so that you can no longer fully use it. I know that many of you will say, yes, I believe, I pray, I go to church. Simply put, I'm a believer. He will also say, I'm a Christian. Well, dear friends, there is much, much more to being a real Christian. That means first of all to follow the advice of our Savior and simply to do what we have to do, to walk the path as God has prescribed it for us. That means that we have to go this prescribed path, and we also have to believe that we will then reach our goal. And don't just always comfort yourself by saying that you believe. You are a believer. You are a Christian. No, friends, speak less and instead do it. To do means that you should move on to action and that you take the good to your heart, because the good wants to be absorbed. And you may not believe that the good, the purely divine, will then find its way into your body when you keep dealing with the evil, with everything that is never order, but always unorder. You've noticed that now. And it is precisely therefore, dear friends, that you have come together today to finally hear the truth. But I go further here, not only that you hear the truth, but that you also feel it, that you perceive it on your own body. But this only happens when you pay real attention to your body, when you follow what you have to follow, and that you really believe that order will be restored in your body. And I say again, this will not be the case until you have really released yourself from evil, that you from now on have nothing in common with evil. That means with the evil one, with this disorder. Just don't give up anymore, and now just go the way that God has prescribed for you and for every human being, every living being. If a person does this, he will soon perceive it, and if he is already on this path, he feels more and more comfortable, feels more and more free, so that afterwards he is really cheerful, affirming person. But here, dear friends, if you intend to go this way now, you must live in it and not continue to deal with the evil, not think back and doubt the good. Or, as very easily happens, it can also happen to you that you were surrounded by your neighbors and still are today, who by far do not have the good in them and do not believe in the good, the divine, because they say, what I don't know, I don't believe. What I don't see and what I don't feel does not exist for me. Well, the person is simply an unbeliever, repeatedly telling you, yes, try this, try that, or have you already tried this, that or that? You have to try. Okay, friends, here too you have been approached again and again by your closest relatives, no matter who it be, the father, the mother, the brother, the sister, the aunt, the uncle. What do I know who it is? Or maybe a good friend, a good neighbor, or maybe such an imaginary fool who believes he already has much knowledge in this life because he has been making experiments. But not everything is the same. That is, everyone is not in the same mood, and everyone is not surrounded by the equally good, or not immediately by the evil. One more and the other less. But let's leave the surroundings for now. Let us reflect on our being here, on our earthly life. Let us reflect on our body. Let us reflect on ourselves, and here, dear friends, you will soon come to self-knowledge, because you have to make a promise to yourself and stick to this promise. And when you have made this promise to yourself, and you then also stand by this promise, this word, that you say to yourself, yes, I do. First, I want to break away from evil. I don't want to have anything in common with evil. And I will now connect with the good, with the true divine, so that afterwards I will have a direct connection to God. I know that man knows nothing about himself. Today you already speak about body, mind and soul, and yet there are always people who more or less do not believe in the soul, although on the other hand they say again that it is emotional suffering. Yes, and where is it always held, dear friends? You should be as familiar with this as I am. But for that very reason it cannot have become known to you, since you have not bothered with all this, since you have by far never done what you should do, that is, do not disregard, do not ignore yourself, seek the truth in yourself. Because the feeling that you are now perceiving, you will say to yourself, that is a feeling that is strange to me. It's a very strange feeling. But soon afterwards you switch back to evil. And then you try to find out whether it still tweaks, or whether you can maybe already do one thing and the other. There, dear friends, the proof is given to me that you immediately begin to demand. No, friends, this is too much. It can't go that far. You only have to adjust yourself to receive the true divine broadcast here, or rather, to attain. How to obtain this mission is up to you, but again and again I have to say, only when you really pay attention to your body, that you pay attention to what happens in it, much less around it, but only in your own body. If you are distracted by the environment, from your surroundings, then close your eyes. And don't ask that this, that, and the other feeling should be felt now. No, friends, it is not like that. But if you pay attention to your body, then you will really acknowledge what it shows you, how you feel it. And you must finally once and for all accept that. You have to take it into your heart. And that's what I already said, that you say, this is a strange feeling to me. Yes, it is strange that you should do it differently now than you have before. Only in this way, yes, dear friends, only in this way and no other way is it possible. I know that if I was to tell you today the individual cases that I could list up for you, of the individual fallen persons who had lost the good, first around him and inside him, and tell you afterwards how he regained the good again. This is a person who really knew through the bad, as he himself had recognized it in his own body, that it was not good after all, but only evil for him. So he comes to understand that evil only leads him to more evil and never to good, never to God. But here, dear friends, it's always in all those cases, if I say hundreds, then there are thousands of these, where people were completely given up by their next, who said themselves, I or we have tried everything possible to help him get rid of this evil, but we can't. That means that one as well as the other speaks the truth when they say, we cannot help here. Look, friends, the truth begins here, when the person has tried everything possible. Not only you, no, also those around you or someone you thought could have helped after all. But you figured it out afterwards, admittedly very late. I'll say again, you learned the truth when your next said, I can't do anything about it. I've tried everything, and that's just, well, as people are known to be saying, incurable. There is still no remedy for this. We cannot do anything about it yet. Yes, I think you are partly ready. This is where the truth begins. Now they come to self-reflection, the people who have experienced salvation in their own body. Now they knew the fact. I was given up by my neighbors, relatives, and by all those who looked after me, cared for me, and tried everything possible, but said, we cannot. As the mother says, I've tried everything on my child. As the husband says, I've tried everything, I still can't help my wife. but it was always only an attempt. So it goes, brother to sister, sister to brother, and vice versa. Yes, dear friends, one could not help the other, because he didn't know what to do, and therefore he couldn't. He was helpless and inactive. When a person has gathered this knowledge and now knows what it is all about, when he has come to self-reflection, then he will know. And then he will find his way back to who he belongs. Simply put, but hard to do, seen on your part, that he belongs to God who gave him everything, who determined so much of the good for him, but which he must absorb within himself. If he does, it is good, but if he tries, every attempt will again and again become an evil for him. Afterwards, he will say, every attempt has failed. But should he have to try? Isn't trying an attempt at God? Are you clear about that? I say yes, but you will soon say yes, that what you have been doing so far has only been an attempt at God. No, friends, it cannot go on like this. And I say it once more, the people who experienced salvation in their bodies were always those who knew exactly what they wanted, to find the way back to God, by really believing, by having only one heart's desire, that their body become free from the evil. But as long as he moves where the evil is already at home, in the evil circles, he will never be free. It doesn't matter when I tell you that the person has fallen into a pit, that he is being pulled out and placed next to it. For if he doesn't have the strength to hold himself up, he will fall back in again. And all people who grew up in this are defiled, they are tainted. And if you live among them, you too will be defiled and will never be free and never pure. Yes, as I say, dear friends, it is so true. I say yes, I don't want to go into too many parables today because it would be too much. Because you cannot immediately understand all the good that are meant for every living being. And that's why I now give you one good piece of advice. Do the same good thing that many people already have done. Come to self-knowledge, so that you know what it is all about. And then it is good. Get rid of what you have felt to be evil in your body, so that you have nothing in common with the evil. And now really connect with who you belong, to whom each individual belongs. I know that many say that it was necessary for Gröning to appear here. No, friends, necessary. All that is necessary is that you come to self-knowledge. The person, the body of Gröning, tells you nothing, but God tells us everything. And if we take the good to heart, the divine, especially you, I'm already at it, then you will say, yes, now it's different. It's a very different feeling. Funny. I say once more, a strange feeling. Yes, and if you only would believe now, really believe, that you really hold on to the connection to God now, that you really listen to God. The words of Christ are that we should listen to God and follow Him. Do not just say, I want, or comfort yourself with it and say, I will. No, simply move on to do it now and leave the evil path. I call on you all, dear friends, to a great conversion. The path you've chosen so far was a wrong one. I don't need to emphasize it because you know it. The path you walked was the wrong one. It's the bad path. On that path, you not only had all the evil around you, but you also had to absorb the evil within you. And that's how you took the disorder into your body. Disorder is and remains evil. Order difference is good. Order is God Himself. I know that there are also people who say of their own accord, God belongs to us. No, friends. We, every living being, belongs to God. And God has one law. Anyone who does not know this, does not take it to heart, does not follow it, has no success either. So everyone has to do what is good and what is right on their own initiative, and never what is bad. I'll just say very briefly, if you want to be there, you don't go into the dirt. And you don't dig in the dirt, because that's where you will get dirty. But if you do everything you need to stay clean, that is, if you are clean first and stay clean, then you will not go to, on, or into the dirty hole. Then you will bypass it, and then you will say, there is the dirt, I don't want to go there. I want to go the good, the firm, the certain way. I want to go the way God has determined it for us. Because He has created a way for us, for every living being, which leads to Him, leads to God. So we have to walk this path. And if everyone goes this way now, they are protected and supported. That means they receive the really true divine power, which is not degrading but uplifting and constructive. They feel strengthened there. They feel the body is flushed through. They feel that they are really comfortable on this path. That is, that they are pleased with it. Yes, and that pleasure is God. God wants it to please us too. He gives us all the best. We just have to take in all of that which He sends us. So do it. Dear friends, if you really go over to it now, and now really pay attention to your body and really detach yourself from all the evil that you've taken in so far, because you know that the evil is degrading you. I've said it before, but I have to keep saying it so you know what is important. You should know what it is all about. It is really about the divine order. So now, pay attention to your body. Do not pick up a thought from outside. Just follow the feeling of how it is working in your body. And don't think about home now. Don't think about your business. Do not think about your work or your loved ones. No, be mindful of yourself. And now, if you pay attention to your body, you will receive so much knowledge that you will say to yourself, yes, what he just said is true, I can see that. And that's new to me. But I will continue to follow that because I want the good. Well, friends, but there is more to it. The evil that is around you will not let go, especially now that you have confessed to God. And since you are now willing to walk this path to God, evil will do everything possible to influence you, to make you absorb evil thoughts. Or you might even hear from one of your neighbors and you keep falling for it and you say, yes, that's not to be believed. I can't believe it. It can't stay that good. It will be bad again. Yes, you had gained the experience, but so far you have been on the evil path, and so I have called you to turn back and to walk the right path, to walk the path as is meant for you. It doesn't go downhill, it goes uphill. So friends, really let go of the evil now and pay attention to your body. Only take in what really leads you to good. Take the good to your heart. And this can only come about when you no longer consider yourself unworthy, but worthy. That you are really willing to take in the good. That you stand by your word, by your promises, by saying to yourself, I don't want anything in common with evil anymore. Well, we cannot negotiate about it. I can't tell you anything more than what is true. So let's not fight, and don't tell me. It's good that I'm not here in person, otherwise you would say, yes, Gröning, but I have to think about it because it hurts. It tweaks, and I can't move my limbs yet. I don't feel any life in my limbs yet. And should that really be? Can I believe? And so on. No, completely wrong. That is the power of habit, because you have lived in it. You are so used to talking about the evil in order to have it treated as well. By now you must know for sure that I don't want to hear anything about the evil, because I have nothing in common with the evil. No, friends, you should by far be aware of what I have forbidden everyone. Don't tell me anything about the evil. I have so often been approached by people who believe that they ought to bring me harm, clearly stated on their part, to describe the disease, to talk about it, and then they would also have to ask me to treat the disease. No, friends. So, should you have noticed a lot here? You should have noticed a lot here and say to yourself, he does not want to know about illness. He doesn't want to know anything about the evil, as he calls it. We are not supposed to tell him anything. And there you were also faced with a big question. How is it possible that I will then get rid of the disease? At this point, the sound of the recording stops. So I continue the speech. I do not like to use the word illness. Do not put the word disease in your mouth. You've spoken it so often and still speak it today. Stop doing that, friends. That is disaster, not salvation. Disaster will never lead you to salvation, only to disaster, only to evil. It will demean you. I differentiate myself from people by having nothing in common with evil and also not treating it. Here too you will say, yes, why does he keep talking about evil? Yes, you call the evil sickness. So is it. Well, friends, I have nothing in common with evil, and I do not want to have anything in common with evil either. So I ask you now that you too now separate yourself from evil and not deal with evil. Now, friends, I think I have said much to you. Now I will once more come back to what I described to you in detail in the beginning about the life and also the will of Christ. Just take it to heart. And if you visit the church, the house of God, today or one of the next days, then you too will know how you can maintain a connection to God there by presenting your heart's desire to God as naturally as you do it in your heart, and then, if you believe, this heart's desire will be fulfilled by God. But each person must first meet the preconditions himself. He himself has to take the first step. He himself has to acknowledge what he belongs to. That means he has to come to self-knowledge. Yes, friends, it is possible. Now you will say, yes, now I really have a feeling like Gröning says. Well, and then comes the second. Will it stay that way? And then it goes on. Will I really get well? Can I really believe? Yes, friend, you can. But you also have to want this ability. You have to put it into practice. And not only that, you now pay attention to your body. No, always. Always. We need a lot of energy. In order to take in only one thought, a person needs strength. He needs energies. And therefore he always has to make sure that he absorbs new energy every day. It's the same as if he were only supplying oxygen to his body. You would say that you draw it full of air. Take a deep breath, take in the air. But the nitrogen, the used oxygen, must be conveyed out, otherwise your body could not exist. No, you do that very often. You always do that. It goes automatically. It comes about by itself. When the body needs new oxygen, take a deep breath in and out again, and then you will feel good again. Then the body can exist again. Then you can control the body again. You can move. The body can also carry the heaviest loads. But how is it possible that we can take oxygen into our bodies? Only when we still have certain energies, that the organ obeys us, and that we can take in the oxygen through the organ and throughout the body as well. But what about the recordings of thoughts here, and that you also voiced these thoughts? Woe to him if it were bad thoughts, then he, the human being, had to speak badly. Woe to him who absorbed evil because he had to do evil. If he heard something evil, he continued to speak the evil he heard and became angry too. How about, friends, if it was the other way around? Well, I think you have now come to realization. That is, do now the opposite of what you have done before, by no longer following the evil, but only following the good. That means following God. And so every day, as I said before, I have to say it often, you pay real attention to your body, that you know that it is worth paying attention to because you need it. You know that you have wasted a lot of energy during the day because you have absorbed unnecessary stuff, heard, seen, smelled, tasted, or felt it, no matter what. So don't negotiate, act. That's the right thing, dear friends. Think about your body every day. Take in new good strength daily. And this happens when you close yourself off from the environment, meaning that you come to self-reflection and automatically close yourself off from the environment. Now think of yourself. Think about your body. Now think about the well-being of your body, and now give it food. Now give it the strength it needs. Do that every day. Afterwards, if you have absorbed enough strengths, you will say, now I feel good, I feel free. Yes, in order to remove evil, friends, it takes a lot, even a lot of good strength. The evil settles in the body in such a way you could not believe that it would disappear. Now you have to absorb enough good power, even extra strength, to overcome, to have a supply. Then you will say, yes, now I have soon made it. So it does not depend on Gröning here, but on you, on each individual. I know that people also lived in the belief that if they prayed to God, God would have to answer them, and God would have to give it to them the way they want it, as they directly, in one word, demanded it. Friends, this is wrong. Everyone can only attain the good, the divine, and this will only be possible if he knows how to adjust and switch on the really true divine mission. Everyone can absorb the power of God, and if he has absorbed enough strength, enough energies, and are convinced that the disorder no longer rules in him or around him, then he lives in the true divine order. And he can then teach his neighbor, if he only tells him the pure truth, how he himself felt it on his body and how he was freed from the evil. And so his next will hear that, and he will also start to believe, because he can feel that you are telling him the truth. Because he has once seen how your body was degraded, and that it's now an affirmative of life. Then he will say, yes, my dear friend, I want that too. And I think you just told me the truth. Yes, friends, that's the truth. Search for the truth, not only around you, but in you. That's where it begins. And so, dear friends, it has happened to many of your neighbors, and God gave it. God gives it. And what He gives, we have to take in. If you still cannot believe today, I will do it for you until you really believe. And if you cannot ask or pray today, I will do that for you too. Free yourself from what you felt was suffering. I help. And this help leads you to your salvation, leads you on the path on which Christ our Savior has led us. And that is sanctification. I wish you all the best of luck and God's rich blessings. God bless you.